Hey, what's up guys? Another video here. So this is a high-level investing video, and this covers the topic of the accredited investor, God tier investing. So in the United States, to be considered an accredited investor, one must have a net worth of at least $1 million, excluding the value of one's primary residence, or have an income of at least $200,000 each year for the last 2 years, or $300,000 combined income if married. So that is an average about 150K per spouse, and have the expectation to make the same amount this year. So you will qualify either through your net worth, again, which excludes the primary residence, or income. So either is are difficult to obtain, obviously. So not many people will qualify as an accredited investor, but if you do get to this point, just recognize that you do have this option. And why is it advantageous? It's advantageous because you can get on the ground floor level as opposed to fighting with retail slash institutional investors for shares when the company IPOs. So let me give you an example. The main example that I like to use is Beyond Meat. So the IPO price was $25. So the share price was $25 for those that got in the pre-market, or maybe they were on the VC level or the accredited investor level, or they were owners of the company, or they were employees prior to the IPO and they were awarded some stock options. So only a very few select individuals, VCs, owners, employees, accredited investors will have access to the quote unquote cheap shares. So this way you can control your cost basis very easily. And again, that's a huge advantage because in the example of Beyond Meat, what happened was the price automatically spiked to $66. So those who got in at the IPO price of $25, either they got in the pre-market or they got it prior to the actual IPO date, they made a huge amount of money from the onset. And ultimately, this stock, it peaked at around $239. So you can imagine if one got it at $25 or cheaper, they would be making nearly 10 times the money in a very short period of time. So obviously, that's a huge advantage getting on the ground floor level as opposed to buying the shares in the open market amongst retail and institutional investors. So obviously, at this point, you can multiply your millions into multiple millions of dollars of net worth. So let me give you an example. For my particular company that I went through, the minimum transaction was $100,000. So let's say you sprinkled your existing net worth across 5 lots, and again, they may not all be winners, but some may hit big. And in a few years' time, they may go 10, 20x the initial valuation when they did the IPO valuation. So there's a chance that you can easily turn millions into multi-millions. So keep that in mind, but it is a very risky endeavor. You don't know how the company is going to take or how well they're going to do, and it may take quite some time because what happens usually or sometimes is the IPO price may dip or go sideways for years or for a long period of time. So you want to keep that in mind. So don't be upset if it dips below the IPO price. And at that point, if it does dip, you may want to dollar cost average to bring or maintain your cost basis. So again, just don't get emotional when it gets to that point if the IPO price either dips or stays sideways, because if you do believe in the company, then ultimately it's going to be better for you as the value of the shares rise over time. And obviously, you still have to approach investing with extreme caution, even if you're at a pre-IPO state, because you may be holding on to the investment for years before it actually IPOs. It just happens to be that you get shares prior to the IPO. So just keep that in mind. So you may have a very illiquid market, and you have to, obviously approach it with extreme caution because the investment may not always pan out or go to zero. It may get delisted. Something may happen to the company. So again, it's a very risky endeavor. to begin with. And at this point, if you are an accredited investor, you have to approach the fact that you aren't really making this money for yourself, but to serve a larger purpose, such as generational wealth, or to have money so that you can support a cause after your death. So this is money that's probably going to be used post-mortem. And so you have to keep that in mind. Obviously, if you did work hard for the money, you're probably not going to be spending it all in the entirety of your lifetime, and you're going to be leaving multi-millions behind. So obviously, you're going to set up some kind of trust, either revocable or an irrevocable trust, to direct how the money is going to go, and hopefully you set it up in a way where it won't ultimately go down in value or go to zero. So obviously, you'll want to have the revocable or the irrevocable trust diversified, and you don't want to be paying out too much. So definitely something below the market average, so you can maintain the trust in perpetuity. And given that the trust has maintenance costs and custodial costs, you really want to factor that in as well. So being an accredited investor, you do have greater responsibility that the money really isn't for yourself, but to serve a larger purpose, such as generational wealth, to make sure that your descendants are, if you do have descendants, that they're covered. Again, you don't want to spoil them, but provide enough where they can cover their living expense and have prosperity, such as not having student loan debt, things like that. But at the same time, for them to maintain their type of motivation to do well for themselves and or to support a cause past your death, something that you believe in. So just to recap, in order to become an accredited investor, you either have to have $1 million net worth or have a certain amount of income. So in this case, 200,000 for a single or 300,000 for a combined income. And number one, it's advantageous because you get to get on the ground floor as opposed to fighting with other retail / institutional investors for shares, which will be at a higher price point. And obviously at this point, you can multiply your millions at a much faster pace. And again, keep in mind that the IPO price may dip or go sideways after the IPO becomes public, or the company becomes public, and you may want to dollar cost average to get closer to your cost basis or to maintain your cost basis as the shares rise over time. And obviously you want to approach investing with extreme caution, as you may lose the entirety of your money, but again, it may 10 or 20x from the point of your cost basis. And lastly, you want to be making sure that the objective of the money, or making the money, is not really for yourself, but to serve a large purpose, such as generational wealth for your family, or to support a cause that you believe in. So hopefully this video is helpful for you guys if you reach this point, and stay tuned for the next video.